Good morning, good morning, good morning, darlings. Before I start, there's something really important that needs to be said. And this is for the LGBT youth, the beautiful rainbow youth that I see out here. And there is a message that I have for you today, and that is that you are no longer alone. Woo! You are not alone like I was, like those of my generation were when we came through schools. Sogi education is teaching everyone, parents, friends, teachers, that you are okay. And it's a fight. It was a fight when we started with gay marriage. It was a fight when we started with trans equality. And it is a fight that we now are not going to let go of because, and I say it again, you are not alone. Woo! I'm here to give you a little bit of my personal story, to tell you what it was like for me without Sogi education. The first time that I came out, I was 5. I was in kindergarten, and I was confused because I grew up in a small town. Little girls were over here, and little boys were over there, and I always seemed to be over here when I knew that I needed to be over there. And one day I said, no, I'm a boy. And my kindergarten teacher, who happened to be on recess that day, said, don't lie. You're not a boy. I said, no, I'm a boy. She said, don't lie. I said, I'm not lying. Go to the principal's office. At 5 years old, I was suspended from kindergarten for 2 weeks for announcing that I was transgender. Things didn't get much better because unfortunately the teachers that I had at that time were not like many of the teachers that we see here today. Harassment, abuse, every kind of mental and emotional dig for the next 2 years until my mother finally pulled me out of school and homeschooled me because my teachers were my worst enemy. And then things started to change. Gay rights began to build up. Teachers began to realize that they needed to support gay children. They needed to support transgender children. And all of a sudden in grade 10, when I was bullied on every side and I was suicidal, a teacher saved my life by saying nothing more than, you are okay. And so today, right now, I want to thank the teachers that are standing here, because the message that you are sending to these kids will save lives. And it does every day. So please, give an applause to these teachers who are out here on a Sunday, who are going to go home probably to a pile of marking on their desks. Yes. I see nods. If there's one thing I can say today that is just as important as the message that you are not alone, it is to the teachers, and it is thank you. Because even today, though I am not in school, seeing you inspires me to keep going. It inspired me to get up at 6 o'clock this morning, put on a face, put on hair, and then scare the heck out of the SkyTrain. And let me tell you, it was a very scary SkyTrain ride. You don't want day drag, it ain't good. Going forward in my life, I realized that I had to come out as a boy, and I did. And as I continued forward in that journey of transition, I realized that I wasn't like all the other suddenly boys in the room. No, I just couldn't make it that easy on myself. So here I was, a proud transgender man, and I found myself realizing that I was gay. And that was not something that you were at that time. You could not be trans. You could not be trans and gay. So I stepped out and I said, no, that's not going to happen. And it was this community that stood with me. And it was this kind of group, people from every walk of life who stood up and said, you're okay. And I realized then that I wasn't done. because it was time for me to come out and do something that nobody, and I mean nobody, had done. It was time to stand up and say, I am a transgender man, I am a gay man, and I am a drag queen. Yeah. Woo! And I am, to this day, the first after M trans drag queen in Vancouver, but I'm not the last because now there are hundreds of us. Woo! And again, I speak to the youth when I say that you might feel like you are the first today, but you will not be the last. Stand tall, stand proud, know that you are not alone. Look to your teachers for help, look to your community for support. You will be okay. Wow, I love you all. Mwah.